is crazy. Let's see if I can put this down just a bit. There we go. How's everyone doing this evening? I'll kind of let everyone kind of trickle in for a little bit. Hope everyone's doing well. Gary, I always forget, man. It's Gary, right? Yeah, I think it's Gary. Thanks for being here. Terry, what's going on? Hugo, what's going on? Hope everyone's doing well, buddy. Thanks for being here, man. Oh, you're good, man. You're good. I didn't realize how bad my hair was, but it's always bad. Don Magic, what's going on? Thanks for being here. Greg Martinez, thanks for being here, buddy. Hope everyone's doing good this evening. Hope everyone had a good Monday and everyone's doing good. Hope y'all got some fishing in over the weekend. I know I sure didn't. Crappie Express, there he is. Thanks for being here, man. Hope all's well. Yeah, so y'all, so we had a pretty good last week or week and a half on the channel, y'all. Everything's, got a couple videos getting some views. We're growing. It's a lot more subscribers than I had this time last week or the last live even, so I'm really thankful for that. DJ Pizza, thanks for being here. So it's great. Yeah, if y'all could leave a thumbs up, that helps a lot with this getting out there to YouTube. And thanks again for all the support, everyone. I really, really appreciate it. The growth, I'm never one to bank on growth. It's great when it happens, but it's not anything that, I know how it goes and ups and downs, and so I just go with it, Hugo, yes, much better, but thank you. They're doing good. Rough couple of days, but we all made a full recovery. Awesome. Glad to hear y'all made it through all right. So glad to hear that, Hugo. Gary, I went day before ice storm, not a bite. Oh, no. Yeah, we didn't have... It snowed a little bit on Saturday here, like flurries, really. But I did see some snowflakes, so... You can definitely say it did snow. So yeah, again, the channel's doing great. We're growing. Like I said, if we can get to 10K subscribers, it'd be great. And I'll do a giveaway with that. And I got some pretty good ideas for that one. It's gonna be a big one. So yeah, the more you share, subscribe if you haven't. If you're watching this later, or subscribe, share every video if you can. Shout out the channel if you can. Stuff like that really helps. So. Vicky, hey, thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well. So that stuff really helps me out a ton. Crappie Express, I've seen snowflakes also. Yeah, it wasn't a lot, but we definitely could say we saw them this year. Yeah, for sure, Terry. Just slowly but surely, Slowly but surely. But, yeah, so... The creeks are doing pretty good, actually. The thing that's hurting us is some low water this year. Frank Serrano, thanks for being here. For sure. Oh, no worries, Vicky. No worries. I totally get it. So the creeks are still doing all right. Mark, what's up? How's it going, man? Creeks are doing all right. Yeah, where's Fredo at? Oh, he's asleep. Okay, yeah. No, he's been working hard. But creeks are doing good. the water, so the water is pretty cold, more cold to come in the near future, says Crop Express, and that's right. And so that's kind of what I'm going to hint at today is that, so I'd say this time frame in general, now obviously we'll have cold snaps and everything like that, but, oh no, man. So that, what I'm trying to say is the water's the coldest it's going to get for the most part this year. Now, it might dip to about 45, maybe. It was actually 42 or 43 a couple weeks ago, so it's about peak what it's going to get cold-wise. So, you know, it's going to... The fish, I really think if the crappie are not in there for their winter stuff, like as far as pushing shad, going in there and going chasing shad, if they're not in their creeks right now for that, I don't think they're going to show up. Now, they'll show up in there for spawn. You know, come into February, there'll start being some fish in the creek spawning. But as far as that winter bite, if they're not in there by now, I don't think they're going to show up this year. And that's typically what I found about this time is when it's typically starts, you know, doing that for that winter bite. Paul Carr, good evening. Yeah, I know he's tired, Vicky, for sure. Yeah, tell him we said hey when he wakes up. You go down here, water still on about 55, 60. Yeah. You know, every creek varies with that too, Hugo. You know, some creeks are warmer than others and some aren't as warm. Paul Carr, oh, that's a good question. So for the winter stuff, I like 55. 55 is typically that magical number to where I really start looking for these creek fish. I start looking before, but 55 is when that big push comes, when they really start moving into that stuff. So 55 is good, but they're in there, you know, once it gets 65, 60. Just, you know, and obviously the colder it gets, the better. I mean, there's no cutoff to how cold it gets to where they won't go in there. The colder it gets, the more they'll have to push in there. To the shad do. So yeah, that we're almost another month. I mean, assuming we don't have another cold snap like we did last year, another month or so, these fish are going to start transitioning to spawn. I get a lot of people don't realize how early these fish spawn, especially out east, south and east. Mid to late February, there's fish spawning every year out east. You just got to get in the backwaters and try and find some 3 or 4 warm days, you know, strung together, and they're there. Wishing I was fishing 73. I've been pond fishing for crappie last couple weeks. Been doing good. Nice. Yeah, I plan on doing some more of that stuff too come springtime and all that. Hey, Roger. How's it going, man? Excuse me. Yeah, I saw you went over to Fredo. That's awesome, man. Hope everyone's doing good over there, Roger. So y'all, so Roger did get his. I don't remember if I updated last week or not, or 2 weeks ago when I was last live. So Roger did get his boat. It needs a little bit of work, and we're getting that worked out. So in due time, I definitely know he'll get that together and get that out there. Sorry, I got lost. Yep, females drop the eggs and take off. Hugo, I don't think there's another snap like last year. I say fish will probably start to spawn the next month down here. Yeah. You know, I definitely don't want it. I don't want another cold snap because that really set things back last year. I mean, I still feel like we're still kind of delayed this year with things. I feel like it's the creeks. I mean, honestly, the creeks are just now getting consistently good. And, you know, here it is, you know, mid-January. So it just goes to show. I've had my pet crappie spawn in my tank. Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. I've always wanted to have a pet crappie. And that'd be pretty cool. Awesome, Roger. Glad to hear it's going good. Helped you with the cooler. Oh, nice. Nice job. You got a live scope? Nice, buddy. Awesome, man. That's so glad. I'm so glad to hear that, Roger. You're gonna love that. You know that live scope. Speaking of live scope, you know that stuff. Live scope's got such a bad reputation, but I know you'll love it, Roger. Oh, nice. I'm gonna check it out. Wishing. That live scope's just a game changer. It really is. I say it all the time in some of my videos. You know, like I could catch the fish that I'm catching without them for sure, and I've done it. But it sure makes it easier to go in there and, you know, see the fish over there and know that they're over there. Yeah, you're gonna love it, man. You're gonna love it. Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to get out there too and kind of show you around a little bit, Roger. We're gonna have to make that happen one day when you get things up and running. I'm looking forward to that. I've only had my live scope for about 7 months, so I think it's about 7 months. So not a long time, but that live scope, it's gonna just locating them and saving time. You know, if you got limited time, you can go out on a certain day. You can go out there and not mess around and locate them and get on them pretty quick. Oh, you bet, Roger. You bet, man. We'll definitely get together and get out there and show you at least what I know about live scope and all that. I don't know a lot, but let's see, make sure I didn't miss anything. So yeah, so the title of today's video, today's live, I kind of did something different. I wanted to talk about, you know, the difference between being, I'm trying to think of how to say it. Not that I consider myself a, you know, good crappie fisherman, anything like that. I'm still learning every day, every trip, every year. I learn more and more. But there's definitely something to there's ways that I think a lot of people don't think like, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I find myself like I have to get myself out of that thinking mindset myself a lot of times, and it's tough. It really is. Jeff York, thanks for being here. You go, definitely learning curve, but people like Kid to help you out. It'll make things easier. Oh yeah, for sure. But so my mindset a lot of times, and I think this is where, you know, there's a couple things. So I'm taking like creek fishing kind of, creek fishing in general kind of. Albert, thanks for being here. So, you know, for instance, creeks, you know. So most people, I'd say 90 to 95% of people probably, it might be more than that, they're going to go fish right next to where they park. That's just human nature. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I find myself wanting to do that too. But that is like the worst thing to do. So I always say it, and I always do it myself. The parking lot or closest to where I'm parking is the last, or the closest I'm putting in is the last place that I want to fish. That if I'm fishing there, then I'm just going home, and it was bad. So that's kind of what kind of, and it makes you learn. You know, if you go to the parking, you got to think those fish are always getting pressured. If there's any fish there, even, and a lot of times there's not. Those fish get pressured day in, day out because, you know, human nature. People are going to go from their truck parking spot, walk to the closest place they can get down to the water, you know. And I've always said this, and it holds true, you know. Those fish don't care if you catch them or not. You have to go catch them, and that's what I've always said, and it really does hold true. You know, you have to get out and actively look, search, walk, you know, hop logs across the creek, wade. You know, that's really the best thing to do. You know, those fish that are away from the parking lot, they're less pressured, so they tend to bite a little better a lot of times. And you know, you just never know what you can find away from those closed areas, easy access areas. And trust me, it's not fun. It's not easy. I know y'all have seen some of those videos where I go to 4 or 5 different creeks in a day. I'm all cut up, scraped up, tired. You know, it's not easy, but when you find them, it's worth it. And your chances of finding them are a lot better off away from people and away from where they've been worked over day after day after day. It makes a big difference. Russell Camp, loop knot or no loop knot? I can't even talk. I use a loop knot every knot basically. Every now and then I'll use a Palomar. When I got a slip bobber on and I don't want that loop knot, that knot on that loop to catch in that slip bobber. But other than that, it is. And then for hooks too, for gold Aberdeen hooks and things like that on my minnow rigs, I'm using a Palomar knot. But as far as jig wise, it's loop knot 100% for me. I know some people don't like it, but it works for me and I've always used it. So, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? So, but yeah, and then so combined with that mindset on the creeks and walking and this, oh no, Roger, oh man, I know you're ready to get back out there. Hopefully you get back out there soon, man. It's almost sandy time. It really is. Yeah, so here another month or so, we'll have white bass in the creeks. I mean, there's already some in the creeks, but they will be in there to spawn or start moving in. The males will to spawn. So here another month or so, assuming we don't get another big cold snap next month, things will be, on the upswing as far as the spawn goes for the sandies. Dog Talk, what's going on? Thanks for being here. I'm all good. Gary got on some crappie. Wind blowing pretty good. Caught about 6 nice ones, 11, 12 and a half. Dropped anchor and they stopped biting. Wonder what happened. That's a good question. So Gary, I think, that's another thing too. So I've heard that crappie are real spooky and I have not seen that. The only place I've seen spooky crappie was at Lake Fork, and that kind of makes sense with the amount of pressure that lake gets. I'm sure those fish are accustomed to having boats get by and they get a little weary, and I really think that those fish, they get accustomed to that. So maybe when you drop that anchor in there, it spooked them a little bit, depending on what lake you're at, if it's heavily pressured or what, but that would be my guess. Firefly, found white bass stacked up on bottom, way up in the creek, bounced jigs off of bottom and caught several for fun. Yep. They're in there right now for sure. Not heavy numbers, not spawn numbers, but they are in there. A couple of the creeks this year that I've fished have had white bass in them already. And that's not surprising. They are in there chasing shad, just like the crappie are. It's no different. And they're in there for that reason. Live scope, you see crappie swim away from the structure when you bounce off it and the boat or make a bunch of noise, but they come right back. Yep. And I've, dropped fish back and they go right to where they used to go, or right where you caught them out of. Mark Williams, if you're fishing around bait, like I was today, fish are always moving. Yep, they do. Especially, that there's these fish, when they're loosely on cover, they're not quite as tight to cover stumps or logs or laydowns. You have to cover water. That's the name of the game, cover water. Oh, nice, Paul. Yeah, it's about that time down that way. What's it called? I lost my train of thought. I completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, so you got to cover. Oh, that's what it was. So there's some guys that I follow that I remember one guy would say this, and it always stuck with me. I mean, this was back before live scope and all that, but tournament scene, whoever fishes the most trees won the tournament, and that's how their mindset. But back before live scope, obviously, but that holds true for a lot of things. The more water you cover, the more places you fish, especially if you don't have live scope, the more productive you will be. Gary, I was about 20 foot away from them where I dropped it in a kayak. Yeah, that's weird, Gary. They shouldn't get that weary, especially being in a kayak. I never seem to have that problem. That's weird, man. Maybe they just shut off. Nice, Mark. Yep. And that happens a lot. Those fish roam. And ledges are great. I always used to not understand the ledge thing and not understand crappie not being on cover, but I tell you, as time goes on, I'm seeing it more and more. Tina Ladybug, thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well. It is, it's truly amazing how many times crappie just are not on any cover, and it just defies every kind of thinking that you can think of. When you're growing up, like you always hear, they're around stumps, trees, brush, this and that, and it's true most of the time, but it's not always true. Angelina River, that's right, Paul. Yep. Hugo, kid, you're right about pressure. I dropped anchor once before. I had a spot lock near a brush pile, and they didn't spook. Some fish actually suspended on the chain. Yeah, and it's funny you say that. So I've had that happen a couple times, especially in the kayak. Those crappie will get right underneath that kayak, right underneath it, and it's amazing how you think they'd spook, but some of them don't know any better, especially little ones. Yeah, I think so, Gary. I think they just took off or just moved on down. It's one of those things. Yep, Terry's right. Those white bass and those crappie will they'll kind of be in the same area off structure and kind of just swimming around, and sometimes you can find them both when you're not looking. Jayhawk, thanks for being here. Find the shad, you'll find the crappie. That's right, man. That's right. And so back to what helps you grow to become a better crappie fisherman. So the parking lot things, that's, and like I said, I get myself, I don't want to go track to the woods if it's cold or if it's muddy. I don't want to go do all that, but I know that those fish most likely are not going to be by the parking area, or if they are, they're going to be kind of finicky. They're going to be picked through. They're always going to be messed with, and it's hard to do. But another thing is, this is something that I really struggle with, especially with having a channel, and it honestly limits me pretty bad to where I can't put out as much stuff as I would like to. So, for example, if I go to a new creek or a new place and I catch a limit, or if you go to a new place or go somewhere and catch a limit of crappie or sandies or whatever. So this is what I would challenge you to do. Don't go back. Don't go back. At least that same year. And sounds crazy, but that will help you grow more than anything, because once you go to a place and you catch a lot of fish, you are going to automatically, again, human nature, you're going to automatically be kind of programmed to go back to that same place over and over and over and over again. And not to say you won't catch fish, and you will, most likely, but you won't learn anything. You won't broaden everything that you know. You won't add new spots here, new spots there. You would just want to go back to the same place over and over. And that's, like I said, something I struggle with a lot, especially having a channel. I want to be able to not only scout, but I want to have content for you guys, and that's a big reason why this year, especially creek stuff, I've tried to hold back to once a week. That gives me time for, some weeks I have extra days off. I can go scout. I had to go scout for a guide trip a couple weeks ago. Stuff like that. It's always like, goes back and forth. So that is something that definitely helps me. As much as I don't like it, as much as I want to go back and actually catch fish again, I would never learn anything if I did not go to places I knew I could catch fish, if that makes sense. And so that, combined with that parking lot thing, I've been doing this, especially the creek stuff, I've been doing that for a long, long time. And that's what I've come to realize over the years. You got to get away from people, and you got to not be afraid to get skunked. You really can't be afraid. Getting skunked is almost like a badge of honor, you know. I mean, I think of it that way. I know I get skunked, and some will say it's, you know, I get skunked for certain reasons, but I get skunked because I'm looking. I'm looking in new places. I'm looking here, looking there. I'm not trying to put, you know, I'm not trying to put all my focus on one place. I'm trying to branch out. And you know, examples, I mean, I find a place that like if I go in, this is what I would do. If I went in somewhere and caught a limit of fish in a new creek randomly, first time there, boom, caught a limit. The first thing I would do is when I get home, look at Google Maps. Look at characteristics. Where does that creek go in, out of the lake, all that? You know, how big is it? You know, watercolor, what did the water look like when I was there? And I try to branch out and apply that to other places. So I'll get on the maps like, okay, this creek looks kind of similar, maybe a little bit muddier, this or that, maybe it's more shallow. And I try to piece those puzzles together. And so you know, I definitely apply what I see. And that's why I say, you know, when you go somewhere and catch a limit and you don't go back, it forces you, and not to say you don't go back ever, but you don't want to go there every single time. So whether you can also, you know, go there, catch a limit, leave, don't go back for a week or two, and use those 2 weeks in between to go look at other places. And, you know, eventually, you know, if you do that enough, eventually you will have enough places that you're always able to go out and catch fish, no matter, you know, exactly, Mark, you know, look for similar places in the same creek as well. You know, and also too, so if you catch them, you can apply this too. If you catch them, you know, on a 5 foot deep brush pile or a lay down in 6 foot of water, you can apply that to other places. And I'm telling you this from what I've seen. I know Mark, you know, Mark would agree, you know, Terry as well. Every creek is different. Every creek has its own personality. Every creek has its own watercolor. Every creek has its own depth. Every creek has its own setup, whether that's, you know, a bunch of laydowns or it's bare or there's, you know, stumps in the middle. Everything is just so different. It really, you know, it's kind of like a puzzle. That's how I think of it. And I put out a video, the last video I put out, I mentioned that in the video, like that little fish that I caught was a piece of the puzzle. That little bitty fish that I caught told me that those fish are, it's that combined with those other fish, like, okay, so I went down, didn't catch anything. I caught that one decent one, and I started to work my way back up, and boom, caught that one, and I kind of got them dialed in a little bit. And that helps me, you know, I'm just happy to catch fish too. I'm not out there looking for 3 pound fish. Now I want to catch them, don't get me wrong. I'm not out there looking for 3 pound fish, 3 pound crappie or 2.5 pounders and 18 inchers. I'm not out there looking for that. I'm just looking for fish. I just love to catch fish. And that's part of why I'm not into the tournament stuff. I much enjoy guiding much more than tournament stuff. I really do. And that's why too I tend to gravitate toward the creeks. Not to say you won't catch any good fish in the creeks, because you will. But that's why I tend to gravitate toward the creeks, because it's more of a numbers thing. And you know, I grew up, you know, I never, for the longest, you know, I didn't have a boat, I didn't have this, didn't have a kayak, didn't have anything like that. So I creek fished in the winter. I did. And looking back, I was so limited and just didn't understand how it worked, that I would just go to the same place year after year after year. And finally it got to a point to where there's some years when that one creek wasn't any good. And so I had to look around, and just so happens I stumbled into some more fish. And at that point I was like, okay, it's not just this creek, it's an overall pattern. And to this day, I mean, every year I just learned so much, and And I would not get there if I ever did not go somewhere that I did good. If I went to the same place that I did good every year, I would never learn, never branch out, never try anything, you know. But that comes with getting skunked, not catching anything. But even a skunk is a good thing, because now, you know, like I know in my mind, if I'm looking at this on Google Maps and I'm like, okay, I think it'll have fish. I think the fish will be right there too. Let me go look. I go look, don't catch anything, don't see any fish. Then that's put out of my mind for a little bit. So fish every creek off every lake around, you'll end up with half a dozen spots for every year. Yep, that's right. Change depths, you know, fish, you know, and also too, don't be, I guess that goes into it too. I guess I'll go ahead and snowball into that. Mark Williams, different techniques, learn them. They don't want the same thing every day, change it up. Yep, that's true, Mark. So whether that's jig and bobber, whether that's, you know, casting for them, whether that's just vertical jigging, you know, keep all that in your arsenal. Don't limit yourself to where I don't want to use a bobber. I don't want to use it. Because I'll tell you, you know, especially in the winter, when those fish are cold and that water's cold, that jig and bobber is hard to beat, because I don't care how slow you jig, you won't hold it as still as that bobber sitting there fixed like that. Barfly, yep. Swim it, drag it, bounce it off bottom, jig and bobber, and one of those will work. Yep. Yep. Mark Williams says today, if his jig was more than 6 inches off bottom, it would not get bit. And a lot of times it's like that. You have to get dialed in, you know. Hugo, in your opinion, what's the shallowest creeks that crappie will follow the shad? Hugo, that's a good question. And I'll tell you right now, it's shallower than you think. So if the creek is pretty muddy, they'll get really, really shallow. I'm talking like a foot or two. So there's a creek, I haven't been there in a while, it hasn't been good in a while, I should say, that I would catch them consistently, especially November, December, consistently 10 inches deep, like this deep. And I'm not kidding, y'all. I mean, they were in no water at all. And a lot of that comes with experience, you know. So I know places that I've caught fish in the past, how the conditions were, all that. A lot of that stuff plays into where I think. So if I go to a creek and it's super muddy and I caught fish shallow in a creek that was muddy before, I automatically think and start shallow. And so that really, you know, just experience again. And that's why I'm saying, you know, it's so easy to go back to those spots you do good in, but you have to get away from that to learn, to branch out, to go try different places, to get that knowledge. And it really, really makes a difference. I've said it before, but probably 80% of the fishing that I do now is based off of past experiences. So whether that's, you know, the lake was really low, I caught them here. The lake was high, I caught them here. It was really cold in November this year, and I caught them here. It was warm in January this year, and I caught them here. That stuff, it's like 90%. I mean, it's a lot of 80 to 90%. I don't even know. It's majority of the time that I'm thinking that way. And it just really makes a big difference. KTFO, thanks for being here. Do you like to throw a curly tail grub on a bobber or fish it, cast, and retrieve? That's a good question. So for a curly tail, I'll typically cast that more than I will jig and bobber. Not to say it won't work, because it will, but if I have a curly tail on, a lot of times I will be casting. And I feel like casting those curly tails will get a little better bite casting. They're just, you know, a little more action, and so those fish will kind of get after them a little better. Yep, that's true. You know, it's everywhere. Like Terry says, you know, the videos. I mean, we rarely fish the same place over and over and over again, and it really, you know, we have good days, bad days, but I try to throw in some bad days mixed in with the good, because I want to show y'all it's not as good as it seems all the time. It really isn't. And also too, so I want to snowball off of that as well. Mark Williams, plus creek change every year if it floods a lot. Yep, that's right too. So that's another thing. Thanks, Mark. So yeah, every creek as well. There's been creeks that have a really good brush or laydown, let's say, really good laydown in this bend. Oh, I caught a lot of crappie out of that one year. Well, go back to the next year and it flooded during the summer or spring or something, and that tree is gone. But a lot of times those trees don't go far. So because it's gone doesn't mean it's just gone all the way. What happens a lot of times is they'll fall in and they'll get drug into the middle of the creek. And so they're just out a little bit. And I would have never known that if I didn't go there the year before and see that tree, on the laying down off the bank. Yeah, they will chase a they would chase a curly tail for sure. Yeah, if y'all would, as always, the super chat's there, Cash App as well. My wife put that in there. Liz put that in there. Thanks, babe. And that's always there. That goes right back to the channel. And that stuff helps out a bunch. I don't like to be too pushy with it. I don't like to be too much with it, but it's always there, and it definitely is appreciated. Hugo, oh man, I'm sorry, I saw Paul's thing underneath you. I do. I think Sylvia's gonna have to look that one up. I don't remember what it is offhand. Paul, what's going on, man? Thanks for being here. Yeah, I'd have to look, Hugo, man. I really am not sure. Lurb, there he is. Thanks for being here, man. Hope all is well. And so yeah, those things are just so great. I really, I think this kind of thing is pretty good. Not to say that I'm an expert by any means, by any way of thinking. I just feel like I've had enough. I've been doing this long enough and have enough experience, and I've failed enough to know what is good and what's not. And so I want to kind of shorten the curve for you guys, if that makes sense. And I really want to try and help you guys out, because this creek fishing, this winter creek fishing and all that, I've always said it's almost like it's like an art, but it's almost like kind of like an urban legend, I guess. It's kind of a mythical type thing. It's very specific. It's very time and condition related. It's almost scientific, honestly. There's so many things that oh, thanks, Hugo. Yeah, I'll get her to do that. I think she's with Little Man right now, but so yeah, so that that I'm so bad. I lost track where I was at again. But anyway, I feel like this stuff really helps you guys, and I'm telling you this based off of experience. I really think that, not that others out there don't have more, but it's kind of secretive in some sense. It's a lot of work and stuff to figure all this out. So KTFO, what rod do you like, crappie, ultralights or medium? I like ultralights. So I'm very weird with that too. I don't like real stiff rods, real heavy rods for crappie. I like as limber rods. I guess that's as limber rods as I can find. I want that rod to bend all the way over. I want it to have some backbone, but I definitely want it to be able to fight the fish. And for me, that's B&M. B&M Sam Super Sensitive. That series of rods is my favorite series, period. Whether I was working with them or not, I've said it before and I'll always say it. If I was not working with them, I would be buying their rods. They're just that good. I love them. and that is the honest truth. So yeah, if you're looking for a rod as well, yeah, B&M, Sam Super Sensitive, hard to beat for me, for my style of fishing. Barfly, the way we fish shows we don't need live scope. Have it as a tool. We enjoy it, but we're not handicapped by it. Some won't leave it at home. Keeps your skills sharp. Kid, you're the king of the creeks, man. Oh, thank you, Paul. I really appreciate that. Yep, Mark. Yep, I know what you mean. And you know, I feel like I try my best to not be repetitive. I really do. And I'm thankful. So thank you guys again, you know, for helping. This is a couple years back, or yeah, a couple years back now, helping Barfly with the kayak. You guys, I could not have got that without y'all at that time, and that really helped me out with branching out and doing all that different stuff. And I try my best to not be repetitive. You know, I do jig and bobber in the creeks. I do white bass in the spring. From the bank, from the kayak. I have a boat now, so I fish in the boat some. I use live scope. I don't. I try to mix it up for you guys, and I hope you guys can see that I do try to really mix it up. It's not easy, because a lot of times I just want to take the boat and just go live scope fish and just not have to worry about it. But I know, and even for me though too, I do enjoy just getting out there without live scope and just looking around. I really do. Takes me back to my roots, kind of, how I grew up fishing and all that. So Sylvia does take all my money, Hugo. I don't have any. She takes it all. Blurb, Winter Creeks for crappie is still a legend for me. I'll get them one day. Oh, nice. Yeah, and it's like that, it's not easy. Oh, I'm glad to hear, Roger. I meant to ask you about that the other day, or when I thought about it the other day, I meant to ask you. Yeah, I'm glad you're liking it. It's a great rod. I don't have one yet, but I hope to get one soon. She does take all my money, Vicky. I miss the old blue yak when you were out there with them flippers. You wore them out that way, dude. Thanks, man. Yeah, and so that's the thing too, y'all. So there's ways to do this that some just don't want to do, whether by any way, no matter, I get everyone, especially now, everyone has their own things going on. Some can afford live scope, some can't. And however it falls for you, if you can afford live scope, great. If you can't, great. If you can afford a boat, great. If you can't, that's great too. If you can afford a kayak, that's great. If you can't, that's great. It all just, whatever cards you have dealt and whatever you can afford, you can make it happen. You really can. When I didn't have a boat, I was out there in my flippers, in the water, in waders sometimes, kicking around, paddling around with my hands, using oars, going to bridges, fishing that way out of my one-man pontoon, and I even had a float tube before that. There's ways to get out there, y'all. There really is. So don't let your circumstances or your financial side dictate. You can go to Bass Pro and for $100 get a really nice float tube, and it's really nice. And obviously in the winter you can't use it as much or you're colder, but there's ways to do it. So don't ever think that because you can't afford a boat, I can't afford a $50,000 boat, so I can't catch any fish. It's not like that. It's all about your will, how bad you want to get out there, and what you want to put into it, because you're going to get out of it whatever you put into it. So if you're out there looking, fighting, pedaling, kicking, turning the trolling motor on, cranking the big motor, however you get out there, is great. And there's nothing wrong with any of it. Yes, that is how she got that, Hugo. Hard not to be repetitive when you catch 50 fish on a trip. But you want to show volume. It's definitely repetitive in that respect. Yep. I used to crappie fish with a medium heavy for crappie and thought it was easier to flip them. But now I bought an ultralight and it's more sensitive. Yep, that's true. Yeah, I think I've heard of those kind of rods before. Yeah, I mean, whatever, like I said, that B&M works great for me. I recommend them as often as I can because I do love them. But whatever works for you is great too. Roger, I want to use my live skill for open water and to learn fishing brush piles. Yep, nice, man. We'll get out there. I'm telling you, we'll get out there. Once these fish get right, that's a big reason. So right this second, you guys, I am not running guide trips on the main lake. My fish have left. I can't find them. I have some places I can go catch a few here and there, but nothing to where I would, want to put y'all's money up there and gamble with it. So Vicky says she takes Fredo's money. That's funny. Yep, wading chest deep. Used to fish California for big crappie year round on the bank. No boat needed. Nice. 100 kid, it's how bad you want it. Yep, that's right. When the fish pull off the bank and pull away from the docks in summer, you need electronics to look deep. Yep, no way around it. That's true. That's just how it is. That's how it gets. And another thing too, before I let y'all go, another thing too. Yeah, about 15 minutes. So another thing, don't limit yourself. That's a big mistake. I see so many people doing that. And it's such a, doing what I mean, fishing as long as I have and seeing all that I have, I know how bad limiting yourself is. And what I mean by that is if you, let's say if you're going somewhere, let's just say this, don't be afraid to think outside the box. Whether that's fishing out in the open water in a creek where I don't think there's any fish over there. Don't let that not let you fish there, because knowing what I know now, there's nothing these crappie won't do that would not surprise you. They will, how do I say it? There's nothing, crappie surprise me all the time. So just because no matter how much you think them fish are not going to be in a place does not mean they won't be. I cannot stress that enough. Just because they should be here doesn't mean they're going to be here. Just because they shouldn't be there doesn't mean they won't be there. So that really, I mean, don't be afraid to think outside the box. Try different things. Try this, try that. Don't be afraid, as Barfly said, minnows in the summertime. Minnows in general. There are times when crappie will not bite a jig. I don't care if you, especially in clear water for me, especially in clear water, these fish are real weird and they like minnows a little better. And don't ever, sometimes they will not touch a jig. And what I mean by that is they just don't want a jig. So you can go through 100 different colors and not find one that they'll bite. Colors in general, I'm not too hung up on, but if they won't bite jigs, I'm not going to sit there and beg them. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to put a minnow on and start catching them. I'm not too prideful to say that I use minnows. I use minnows a lot. They work. That's how I learned to fish. My grandpa, he was a minnow. He's a minnow guy. He does not, even sometimes to this day, he will not go out with me and without us stopping to get minnows. He just won't. It's his confidence, And that's how I feel like it is with jigs. If you have a good jig color that you do good with, that's all that matters. Whether it's pink, whether it's purple, whether it's sparkly, whether it's whatever, clear, doesn't matter. If you have confidence in that jig working, you will fish it effectively and it will catch fish. And if it doesn't, then maybe try some minnows. I cannot tell you guys how many times I have been fishing with jigs, whether it's in the boat, whether it's in the creeks, whatever, and I cannot get bit. I don't care if I downsize, if I upsize, change my retrieve, shallow up, go deeper. It does not matter. I can't catch them. I put a minnow on, it's lights out. Just fish after fish after fish. And you do that enough times, and you know in certain circumstances that you better have some minnows. You might not need them, but it's better to have them and not need them than to not have them and need them. So that's how I think, especially guiding for me. I will not have clients in the boat, especially summertime, without minnows, period. I just won't do it because I feel like I am limiting not only myself, but my clients. I don't want to let my pride get in the way of them catching fish and having a successful day. That's just really what it is. And so whether I have to stop and buy $20 worth of minnows to make sure they have a great day, that's what I'm going to do. I want them to catch fish, period. That is the totality of it. Hey, Chuck. Oh, thanks for being here, man. IFS Fishing. Fish drains after the rain in the city. Most retention ponds in cities are loaded. Proof on my channel. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to definitely look into that more this spring, I think. KTFO, my state, crappie always on the bank. But I get what Bar is saying. Wherever brush is, crappie. Brush is key in the summertime. Yep. Scout with minnows. Albert, hi, so do I use power bait? So I don't use scent. I'm not a big scent guy either. I feel like crappie are visual, and I feel like with the minnows, a lot of times it's the actions, the lifelike action, you know, the reflection in the water, the vibration on their lateral lines and stuff. I feel like a lot of that is more than scent. I'm just not big on scent. I've used it before, and if you're confident putting a crappie nibble on your hook every time you drop in the water, and it works for you, great, by all means. That's just not me. I just don't get caught up into all that. There's just so many products out there. It's just like a black hole, you know. It never ends with all that scent stuff that's out there now. And I feel like crappie are visual, and so if they see it and they want to bite it, they're gonna bite it. I don't feel like anything else is gonna change that right away. Samuel Warden, I just want some decent weather here. Crazy weekend in Northwest Alabama. This crazy weather's been completely opposite of December. Need to get better at finding crappies with my Garmin Striker. Nice. Yeah, it's been crazy here too, Samuel. We finally kind of got settled into the cold, so we're going to see, you know. Paul, I've never been in a boat with live scope. I'd like to see how they react to noise jigs and just observe them, to be honest. Would be real interesting. Yeah, Paul, and especially with live scope, I've seen, on my home lake in the summertime, I will drop a jig on those fish's head and literally bump them in the head, and like everywhere, they will not even move. And you drop a minnow down, boom, they grab it right away. It's just amazing. And when you see that, it'll change the way you think. It'll definitely open your mind, you know. And that's why I say you don't want to limit yourself. You don't want to be closed-minded. And that's really what it is. Hugo, I seen a brand new rod on Richard Jean Canyon Creek Super Ultralight. I'm gonna have to try one. I like trying out all sorts of new rods. See how it compares to the B&M. That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. No center nibbles, not ever. Waste of money. My educated opinion. Yeah, for sure, Hugo. New to you. I've never seen one myself either. Crop Express says he wishes he has minnows the other day. Yep. Lurb, just got my first boat, no live scope or spot lock. Would you recommend focusing on the creeks this time of year? Yes, Lurb. So if no live scope and no spot lock, I'd be in the creeks every single time, Lurb. Jig and bobber, go in there. You can get out of the wind. You don't have to worry about, needing the spot lock or anything like that. Jig and bobber, fish, stumps, stuff like that, Lurb, is what I'd be doing. Hey, that fishing guy, what's up? Thanks for being here. Paul catches them on. Unfortunately, minnows are a waste of money out my way. I catch them on jigs way more. I still buy a couple dozen before a trip just in case. Nice, Paul. And that's another thing, Paul. That's very true. So So the minnow thing is, it depends on the lake too. Some lakes you don't need them in the summer. Some lakes you have to have them. It just depends. It really does. David FP, scent brings catfish around. Yep, that's true. Frank Serrano, I want to thank everyone for all the great information. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for being here. Yep, June through August here. Yep. Ryan Rigdon, how do Kid Crappie stay away from that barfly guy? Oh, yeah, he's trouble. I know he is. I only use lures if they don't work. I just throw a net on them. There you go, Roger. That's funny. Jigs are better than minnows. Jigs have a color variety than a minnow and can cause a reaction strike. Hey, like I said, man, if it works for you, by all means, don't even mess with minnows. Crappie hide from catfish, yep. That's right, David. So, I'm already filled up my hour. The hour went by really quick, y'all. I really got some deep topics, and I hope this stuff helps. By all means, I don't say this to try and come off cocky, like, oh, this is how you have to do it. This is the only way to do it. This is how I do it, and this is what I've experienced over the over my, golly, what is it now? Like 10, 12 plus years of doing this creek stuff and just fishing in general. It just, that's the thing I love about fishing in general, is you just never stop learning, and it's like science kind of based, and I'm a big science nerd, so I love trying to connect the dots of the weather, the wind conditions, low lake water. I just love trying to piece all those things together in my mind. So I definitely enjoy trying to piece all that together. Chuck Smith, kid, I haven't got any notifications from Fredo. Does he work that much? Yeah, Chuck, so he's been working a lot lately. I'm not sure when he's going to get to putting videos back out. He's just been really, really busy with work. Excuse me, Chuck. So, yeah, just keep an eye out for a notification. And once he gets out there and gets some videos, I know he's going to put some great stuff out. So, definitely be on the lookout, Chuck. You go later, kid. Always amazing information. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate that. Lerb as well. Enjoyed it. Thanks for your help. No problem. No problem. But I really enjoyed today. I can just talk forever about crappie and fishing in general and this kind of stuff. So I outfished a minnow guy using a live scope, and he was on top of them crappie. I was on the bank with a jig and bobber. Nice. Yep, that'll work too, man. Oh, he said one of these days, Roger. Yeah, I just know he's been really busy. So yeah, I miss his videos. I do. That's the thing too with me. I support everyone that supports me. So if see you later, Paul. Gary, thanks for being here. Albert, thanks for being here. Thank you so much. Same to you and your family as well, Albert. Yeah, 12-hour days. He's been working a lot. Oh, you bet, Roger. And, like I said, I support those who support me. So if you support me, I will return the favor and support you and, shout you out and all that. So I definitely have no problem doing that and enjoy it. See you later, Chuck. See you later, Crappie Express. Brandon, talk to you later, man. Ray Fishing, thanks for being here. Also, again, what time of year is it good to jig for crappie? For me, I'm jigging from September all the way to May. Gus Molina, really enjoy your videos and tips, bro. Thank you for all. No problem, Gus. Thanks for being here. Awesome, Ryan. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. All right, y'all take it easy, and we'll see you on the next one. Y'all have a good evening.